can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
Hotspur America. From the United States to N17, this is the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
When you're at a club like Tottenham, they expect you to win all the time. Be the best club in the country as far as I'm concerned.
Coming to you each week during the season.
Spurs in full cry here. Lamella! Oh, what a goal! And Christian Eriksen has scored!
I hate Arsenal. I just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! Cafu's put Tottenham in front! Kane comes to the Emirates, scores for Spurs.
We're the Yids in America.
Carried away, but Dix is there to step in!
To dare is to do.
Tottenham Hotspur turning on the style. Glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. The Spurs are still marching on.
This is Hotspur America.
I watched it a few times.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. I think I watched it, call it 2 3/4 times, particularly the second half.
Why would you do that?
Because I really kind of, in the pub you miss a lot, number one.
Yeah.
Number two is I really wanted to spend a lot of time on Davies and Trippier because they were getting absolutely roasted on
Tripps was getting roasted
on Twitter. And you know what? I mean, not so much for what they did, maybe more so for what they didn't do in those positions. And then think about this: who decided the game? A fullback, not ours. So, and then to appreciate Harry Kane again because he really had an amazing game.
Yeah, he did.
He really did
everything but score.
He did, and tried to create for himself and score. And then I also wanted to see everybody was lauding Bakayoko or Lolo or
Bakayoko.
Bakayoko, fucking.
Let's just
whatever.
call him
Yoko Ono.
Bukaki.
Bukaki. All right, whatever. and although a big, physical spirited player, I didn't think that he did. He certainly didn't do any better than Dembele.
Yeah.
And the Dembele haters were out in full force, and I thought he had a fantastic game.
Why? Why? He was like one of only maybe 2 or 3 people that played an absolutely great game.
He was unbelievable in the
Dyer
first half.
was poor, and Wanyama was pitiful. I mean, just absolutely pitiful.
Yep.
Every
Agreed.
touch, you were like,
Let's get on with it. Let's just do it.
Fucking
Let's just say what's on the top of our heads and get after it.
I love Kyle Walker-Peters. That's what's on the top of my head.
Love Kyle Walker.
Oh, goodness gracious. Season 4, Episode 4, Hotspur America podcast, coming to you after a pretty upsetting defeat. Played really well, but just didn't get the result. Sam, you're with me this week. Good to have you on, man.
It's good to be here, in spite of the result. Lots to talk about.
Yeah,
we move forward.
Definitely. There is a lot to talk about. Timmy, I know you're going to have some input. Tim's with us this week. How you doing, pal?
Hanging in there, getting by.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Just getting by.
Sam's kind of sucked me into his sad suckfest pity party right now.
I want to hear all about it.
It's an easy week to be sucked in, and Simon jamming out to some Blondie as I got him on the call. So hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. But this one stung a little bit, huh, Chairs?
Yeah. I hate losing to those guys, and there's been a lot of criticism on Twitter of the team, and the fickle Spurs fans moaning and groaning, and they're never happy, that lot. And I mean, I'm not happy about the result. I'm not happy about losing to Chelsea, but it's got to back the team. You got to support them when they lose. You got to support them when they win. Yeah,
lots to talk about. Dropped the home opener 2-1 to Chelsea. Did something today that we had not done all of last year, and that is drop a quote-unquote home match. We're going to get a lot of people that discuss the fact that this is not our home, per se, but you can't look at the schedule and say we're going to play 38 road matches. It's just not the way it works. The Community Beer Company on board with us again for another season. Their public ale, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. I'm glad I've got mine with me. And Sam, let's get right into this thing. People are going to start blabbing about this Wembley curse. We can't beat anybody in that place, let alone Chelsea for that matter, who can't seem to beat Arsenal. It's just round and round and round this thing goes. We completely outplayed them, but there were a couple of moments of lapse of concentration or just utter dog shit play, however you want to look at it, that ended up costing us this,
Yeah, I mean, particularly at the end. A tired Victor Wanyama, a lazy pass, and bit of poor goalkeeping on our captain's part. I mean, I think that the one difference for me about today is as you said, we played well. Many of our losses at Wembley prior were due to really poor, abject performances, particularly in Europe, and that wasn't it today. Just I think that the biggest thing for me is that's about as weak of a Chelsea team that we're ever going to play, and now we have to face them away, and so we put more pressure on ourselves that we didn't get a symbolic win at Wembley. We talked about we wanted to make this our home, and what a great place to start, and now that puts a lot of pressure on us on the return leg at Stamford Bridge, and puts pressure on us as we continue to play games, our home games at Wembley.
Timmy, Trevor on Twitter, at Trevor_M, he asks, if there was a Winks for Wanyama sub at the 75th minute, how would this game end? What do you think? What's your answer when you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, it's a bit Monday morning quarterbacking.
Sure.
I don't know if – I mean, I think, the goal was up to tired legs on Wanyama coming back from injury. So, I mean, I think we could be looking at a different game. Winks maybe would have tracked back with Alonso, maybe wouldn't have made that poor pass to begin with because he wouldn't have had tired legs. He'd be fresh, and maybe we would have been able to see it out and get the draw.
When I look at the match, I see Wanyama. It wasn't just that one part of play that obviously cost us at least the beginning of the play that cost us the match. Every time he touched the ball today, it seemed like he was either under pressure, being dispossessed. It wasn't the same old Victor Wanyama that we'd seen in the past. I think that injury, it had to have carried over a lot more than maybe what people are leading on.
Hey, it's interesting. Our esteemed colleagues over at Who Scored, who think we are so good at defending set pieces, actually had him rated as our second best player this game.
Man, that's mental.
Which doesn't surprise me.
Wrong. That is so wrong.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It's disappointing seeing from then. I think it's just because the consistency he showed last season, you drop one game after you've been so consistent game in and game out, we're going to notice it.
Yeah. And
it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? I mean, well, my point is that he's a guy that hasn't played, coming off an injury, but then again, he is the guy that you would expect to play well in a vital spot coming off an injury, and it just didn't. And from the moment go, he just didn't look like he looked like he was without energy. Even his passes, even his sort of kind of midfield passes that weren't even under pressure, didn't really seem like they had a lot of zip on them. He just was off, and it was just a shitty day to have a player like him be off.
Yeah, and Chairs, when you look at everything that Chelsea had going against them going into this match, the red card suspensions, the injuries, the players being left out of the squad, whatever, at least they knew what they were getting. Maybe putting the 11 on the pitch that they were planning on, that Conte was planning on putting onto the pitch. When you have a situation like that and you're trusting that the players who should be ready are going to be ready in cases like that, versus a Trippier and a Wanyama who are coming off of injury and haven't played, do you think that played a little bit of, possession was one thing, and we bossed possession, but it's those lapses of concentration and in big moments, especially at Wembley, that caused us to lose this match. Do you think that played anything into it?
No. I mean, the first goal, you could argue, was Hugo a little out of position. I think he was probably a little too far to his right. Maybe he didn't think that Alonso was going to take the free kick. And we can put some of the blame on Wanyama for not controlling the ball, but it wasn't also the best throw out by Hugo, straight down the middle. And Wanyama was immediately under pressure. If he'd been fully fit, would he have lost the ball there? I don't know. And then again, Alonso elects to shoot near post, and Hugo it got down, but it went under his body. So it's two things you normally don't expect to see out of the Spurs team, and it's got nothing to do with Wembley.
No,
it really doesn't. And even if we get a result next week against Burnley, the next match will be Swansea, I think, after the international break on the 16th of September. And, we've got to put a string of good results, obviously coupled with good performances, to really put that myth to bed, because it's going to hang around us, and if we don't start getting results there, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, I like
today?
that. Cause
go ahead. Sorry,
I was going to say, I mean, do any of you think we played a bad game?
No. I think we had bad moments. We didn't play.
That's why I hate that the whole talk about this is just down to Wembley. We did not play a bad game. We controlled possession. We had a lot of chances. We hit the post. I mean, it just didn't go our way, but I don't think it's down to Wembley at all.
Well, we hit the post. I would agree with you. But, I mean, in terms of, like, where we really kind of shook Courtois, really had a chance to score, we had 6 on target, I think, out of the 18 that we had. But I felt like our quality of play was better. I felt like that we were very, very comfortable. But you know what? I honestly, I hate Conte. All his histrionics and antics on the sideline just do my head in. But it was brilliant what he did today. I mean, in terms of lineup and where he put players, and I felt like that he really outmanaged our manager to a degree. I think he did the absolute very best that he could have. He got the goal, and then he basically played 10 behind the ball and played, kind of counterattacking football when they could. But no, I mean, to your point, I don't think we played badly. We just didn't we just didn't carve him up enough.
But is that really outmanaging us to sit 10 behind the ball after you get a goal off a free kick? I mean, can we really say?
I think to put David Luiz in a 3-man midfield like he did, and have a new boy Eriksen play like he did, and have Alonso play like he did. I mean, they made him look good, but it's a tough spot for him to be in. I think he knew that he didn't have the best squad, but he didn't give a shit. He needed to find a way to win, and they did, and we didn't.
I'm looking through some of the questions on Twitter. Chairs, you and I went on to the Spurs podcast and talked to Ricky Sachs over there. He actually hit us up and asked, how does Pochettino try to eradicate these big errors in massive games rather than the focus of the media and all the fans being on Wembley being the issue? What from a managerial standpoint do you think? Pochettino's so calm and collected, and even his interviews today are, kind of, he's not upset, he's disappointed. Those type of words are being resonated from him. What do you think he tries to do to eradicate these big errors?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, you got to keep working on everything on the training ground, but it's you have a turnover that leads to a goal, it's going to get put under the microscope. We had other turnovers or passes that went awry, and fortunately we recovered and nothing happened. The one time late in the game, it's the most dangerous time of the match when you've scored a goal, that you've got to really tighten up shop, and we just didn't. So it'll be talked about, it'll be scrutinized on video, they'll role play scenarios like that, and I'm sure someone's going to put their arm around Hugo. You could see the look on his face. He knew it was his fault on that second goal. And it's business as usual. Get the positive attitude back and bring Wembley there and give him a right tonking.
If you go back and watch right after we scored, it's to somewhat be expected, the tide had turned. And in fact, Alonso picked up a yellow shortly after, kind of lost his cool, and they looked out of sorts. And I think the thing that really just kind of gets at me the most is that it wasn't just, a Wanyama slack pass. And, as our captain, who's always talked about how we've got to kind of exercise demons and that we've got to win these big games. And it really was. It was a dreadful bit of goalkeeping for our captain and a goalkeeper the quality of Hugo Lloris to be beaten near post by a fullback in that situation. I hate to say it. So when we all talk about the Wembley curse, we've got to stop these from. If we want to make the next step, those things cannot be in our locker. Period.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that Mauricio Pochettino can do with that except players have to play. I think.
Tim, we had some players that did not play up to the standards that we're used to seeing them play. And Dean Ballack on Twitter asks, does this game finally show why Trippier is not good enough if we want to win trophies instead of be nearly men?
I don't know. I mean, it was an odd game for Tripps because usually his crossing, he's pinpoint accuracy with it. And this game, I think he had 5 crosses. Not a single one of them found its mark.
Yeah.
And so it's kind